Hello, English 101 class. I hope you're all doing well today. My name is Timothy, and today I will be talking about code switching. So, what is code switching? The dictionary definition that I found for code switching is the practice of alternating between two or more languages or varieties of language in conversation. What I think this means is that a person would just switch to a different language when conversing with someone else. And this usually happens when the let's say person A is talking to person B, and they know the same language, but they're talking in a different language that they both also know. So when one person talks in a language and then automatically switch to another language, that's what code switching is. So now we'll talk about how code switching can be used. So code switching is often used when a multilingual person switches between languages during a conversation. Like I stated earlier, a person might switch to their native language or a different language when talking with someone else. This might be the most mainstream definition of code switching, but it's not necessarily what code switching has to offer. It could also be a change in tone and dialect when trying to talk into a group. Like, I know we all had our experiences where we wanted to fit in, so we would change our tone of talking or our body language to try to fit into that group. And code switching can also be referred for that. Code switching can be used in a variety of situations. So one of them could be privatizing a conversation. So maybe you're talking to your friend or your significant other about a critical conversation that you don't want to share with everyone else in the room. You would then switch to a language that you might feel most people in the room would not recognize. So then you could have a private conversation without worrying about those peering ears all over the room. And you could also use code switching to convey a thought through a language that you feel more comfortable in. Through my experiences, my mom, she's not very good at English. So when she needs to tell me something important, she would just say a couple phrases in English and mostly speak to me through Vietnamese, which is my native language, so I can truly get the message without her messing up. And code switching comes really important when talking in a professional context also, because when you're talking with a professional, you won't talk like how you would with your friends and family, and vice versa. So I think those two instances come in hand. Like, you wouldn't talk to your boss how you would talk to your friends, and you wouldn't talk to your friends like how you would talk to your boss. So what's so important about code switching? Why do you need to know all this? Well, I believe that code switching is used in our everyday lives when we're interacting with another person. Let's say that you're interacting with one friend who doesn't like talking trash, so you would be more respectful with them, and then you would talk to another friend who does like talking trash, so you would just talk about whatever with him. And that's an example for code switching, just as simple as talking to a friend. And this could also work when you're talking with a huge group and you're trying to fit in. And it's just another type of adaptation for humans, because when we code switch, we're adapting to the environment around us. All right, so now we get to the main event of this presentation. Why does it matter for English? So the reason that it matters is that it could set the tone of the story. Let's say you were trying to talk in a serious, funny, or just carefree tone, and that's code switching, because if you're talking in a serious tone, that's different when you're talking in a carefree tone. And then you could show the author's background, especially in a personal narrative, because when you talk in a certain way, people would know your background, and I think that's important when you want to show people where you're from. And you could also relate to the reader, because they might have the same background that you do. So when you code switch, they would get the code switch because they're part of your culture. And you can introduce interesting dialogue, because when you're talking, you could switch mid sentence into your language, and then you could spend the next sentence explaining your language, which makes it more interesting than just flat out saying something to your mother or someone who you code switch with without actually code switching on the page. And this can also teach people when and where to use what voice, because you wouldn't want to be sloppy in a professional meeting. So there are three types of code switching. The first one is intersentential, which is a switch done at the end of the sentence. The intrasentential, which is a shift done in the middle of the sentence, like where the sentence would start with one language, have another language at the middle of the sentence, and then end with the language that the sentence started with. And then there's the extrasentential, which is basically just like a one-word insert of another language into a sentence that has a completely different language. So to end off this presentation, I just want to say that code switching is a fact of life. From casual conversation to critical presentations, we use code switching daily. And I believe this is a wonderful thing because code switching allows us to understand other people while not losing what we had prior. Like our cultures are still there, we just integrate it into different languages. And that'll be all for me. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.